If referrals built your business and referrals have slowed down, the instinct is to assume something is wrong, that you offended someone, that the work slipped somewhere, that a key relationship went cold, or the market shifted in a way that quietly broke what used to work. You treat it like a diagnostic, looking for the thing you did or the thing that changed that would explain why the business that was growing through relationships has stopped growing through relationships. I have had this conversation with a lot of service business owners, and the answer is almost never what they think it is. What happened is you hit the referral ceiling, and every service business that grows through relationships eventually hits it. This is not a you problem. It is a math problem, and the distinction matters because the solution to a you problem is to do something differently, and the solution to a math problem is to understand the arithmetic and build accordingly. The ceiling works like this. Referrals come from people who have seen your work directly, not people who have heard about you, but people who have actually experienced what you produce. Clients you delivered for, former colleagues who watched you work, vendors who have operated alongside you, peers in adjacent fields who have seen your thinking up close, the full network of people who have enough direct context to vouch for you with genuine conviction. That network has a defined size, and once you have converted everyone in it who was ever going to convert, the referrals stop arriving at the pace they did. Not because the relationship's degraded, not because people stopped trusting you, but because the pool exhausted itself. The people who were both willing to refer and positioned to refer to someone who needed what you do have already done so. The rest of the network, however warm, is not converting. Most service business owners interpret this as a quality signal, which is the wrong read entirely. If you start a consulting practice with a network of 400 professional contacts and you convert everyone in that network who is ever going to engage with your services, you have built a business to its natural ceiling. Not its potential ceiling, but the ceiling defined by a single closed network. That ceiling is real and it is common, and it has nothing to do with whether your clients are satisfied or whether the quality of your work has changed. The math ran out. What makes this a trap rather than just a plateau is that referrals were never designed to scale. They were designed to start. Referrals are the most efficient growth mechanism for your first 10 clients because the close rate is exceptional, trust has already been transferred, the acquisition cost is essentially zero, and the conversations are easier because someone you both know made the introduction. For a business that is just establishing itself, referrals are the ideal starting engine, and deeply limited as anything beyond that. The part that creates the trap is what happens because of how well referrals work at the beginning. Because they deliver with so little friction, and because the pipeline stays full, most service businesses never build a second acquisition channel, and there is no rational reason to when the referrals are arriving consistently. You are busy. The pipeline is full. Why invest time and money in building something you do not currently need? You build it because you are going to need it, just not yet. By the time the referrals slow down, you are running a business with no system and no real experience for finding people who do not already know you. You have never had to explain your value proposition to someone who has not been pre-sold on you by a mutual contact. You have never had to earn trust from a stranger. You have never built the infrastructure to attract people who have never heard your name, and that muscle does not exist. But you are now in the position of needing it while also running the business. So the options feel bad. Cold outreach feels beneath you, not because it is ineffective, but because you have never needed it before and do not know how to do it well. Paid advertising feels expensive and unreliable because you have no data on whether it would work for what you sell. Content feels slow, 6 months minimum before it compounds into anything, and you needed results last quarter, and none of those channels deliver the kind of warm, pre-validated trust transfer that a referral from a mutual contact does. Every alternative looks worse than what you had, so you try to generate more referrals, reaching out to former clients, offering incentives, warming up contacts who had not referred yet. It works a little for a while, but it is not a channel. It is friction on a system that has already given you most of what it has. What actually breaks the ceiling is not replacing referrals. You are not going to find something that works as easily as referrals worked when you had a full network, and that is not what breaking the ceiling means. Breaking the ceiling means building a channel that does what referrals do at scale, which requires understanding what referrals are actually doing. Referrals work because someone who already trusts you transfers that trust to someone who does not know you yet, and the referred person shows up predisposed to believe that you are worth their time and their money. The conversion is easier because the hardest part, earning initial trust, has already been handled by the relationship. Public content does exactly the same thing, except the person transferring trust is you, And the audience is not limited to the people in your personal network. When someone finds a video you published and watches 12 minutes of you explaining a problem they have been sitting with for months, a problem they have not been able to articulate clearly until they heard you articulate it, and you are right, and you are specific, and your framing matches the reality of their situation in a way that most people who talk about this subject do not, something happens in that watch session. They decide you understand their problem. They decide you probably understand the solution. They arrive at the next step already trusting you, not because someone they know told them to, but because they have watched you think, spent time with your reasoning, seen your framework applied to something real, and done the evaluative work that a referral contact usually does on their behalf. That is not a slower, less effective version of referrals. It is a mechanically different thing, one that does not require a warm contact in the middle, one that is not limited by the size of your existing network, one that compounds over time in a way that referrals never can, because the content that earns someone's trust today is still earning trust from a new viewer 6 months from now. This is what that compounding actually looks like over time. A video you publish this month that earns someone's trust might become a client conversation 8 months from now, and that same video is still earning trust from a different viewer in 2 years. The network effect is not between your contacts and their contacts, it is between you and an audience you have never met. Operating across a time horizon, referrals cannot access. The referral that arrives today expires today. The content that earns someone's trust today continues earning trust tomorrow, and the month after that, and the year after that. Over 18 months of consistent publishing, the cumulative trust building that has happened is something a closed referral network cannot replicate, because a referral network was never designed to operate at that scale or that time horizon. If your referrals have slowed, that is information about where you are in the growth cycle, not a judgment about the quality of your work. The math ran out, and that is a different problem than the one most owners think they have, with a different response. The solution is not to generate more referrals, because you can improve the ask, build a more systematic follow-up with former clients, create incentives, and still only push against the ceiling rather than remove it. The ceiling comes down when you build a channel that operates independently of whether the people in your network happen to know someone who needs you right now. And the transition from referral dependent to audience built is uncomfortable in a specific way that most people underestimate. In the referral model, trust is being transferred to you, and you show up pre-credible. In the content model, you have to generate trust yourself, which means being visible in ways you have not been visible before, making claims in public that you have previously only made in a room with someone you already knew. That is a learnable skill, but it is not the same skill as delivering excellent work inside a trusted relationship, and underestimating how different it is exactly why most people underinvest in building it. If you want to understand what building that acquisition layer looks like for a service business at your specific stage, what the transition from referral dependent to audience built actually involves, what the timeline looks like, and what it would take to start, that is exactly the conversation the Operational Snapshot is designed to start. Free. 30 minutes. Link in the description.